My precious child, stop for a moment and breathe, because what you are about to hear is not random. It is not coincidence. And it is not something you found by accident. God says, I order you to listen to this right now. Yes, this is not a gentle whisper. This is a divine interruption. You were about to scroll. You were about to delay this. You were about to say, I'll watch it later. But heaven has stepped into your timeline and marked this very hour. Tonight, before 11:57 p.m., something must shift in your spirit, or you may miss the confirmation you have been praying for. You are going to hear huge, surprising news today, all because of your last prayer, your last tear, your last act of obedience that no one saw. God is not silent about what you did in secret. And here is what you must understand. This message is connected to the house you are living in. Not just the building, not just the walls, but the spiritual atmosphere inside it. There is movement happening. Archangel Michael stands as a guardian over territories, homes, and destinies. And when there is divine news about to break over a household, heaven sends protection before revelation. That is why you feel this urgency. That is why your spirit feels alert right now. This is not fear. This is activation. God says, I have watched your last act. The one you thought was small. The one you thought did not matter. The one where you almost gave up but chose faith instead. That moment has triggered something enormous. Tonight, before 11:57 p.m., you will either recognize the sign or ignore it. That is why you were ordered to listen now. Because the news coming is not ordinary. It will surprise you. It will silence doubters. It will expose what has been hidden. And it will confirm that heaven hath been working behind the scenes of your life. But listen carefully. The enemy also knows something is shifting. That strange tension in your house recently. The unexplained mood changes around you. The sudden resistance when you try to pray. These are not accidents. When breakthrough approaches, resistance increases. Archangel Michael does not move without purpose. When he is assigned near your dwelling, it means spiritual conflict is already underway, and victory has already been written. You may not see angels, but atmosphere shifts before manifestation appears. God says, do not try to skip me. Do not delay this. Do not treat this lightly. Because the last thing you did, that prayer, that apology, that obedience, that sacrifice, has reached heaven like incense. And heaven has responded. Huge news is being arranged. Something connected to your home, your stability, where someone under your roof is about to come to light. You have sensed it. You have felt something building. You have felt like something is about to be revealed. And you are right. But here is the shocking part. The news is not only about what is being exposed. It is also about what is being restored. God says, what was hidden will be uncovered. What was delayed will be released. What was stolen will be addressed. There has been unseen spiritual interference around your house. Quiet sabotage. Subtle confusion. Miscommunication. Emotional heaviness. But tonight marks a turning point. Archangel Michael stands with sword drawn not in aggression, but in protection. Protection over your calling. Protection over your household. Protection over the news that is about to break. You thought your last prayer was weak. You thought your last effort did not move anything. You were wrong. It moved heaven. And now heaven is moving back toward you. But timing matters. Before 11:57 p.m. tonight, you will notice something. A call, a message, a realization, a shift in someone's behavior. or an internal clarity that feels undeniable. Do not ignore it. Do not rationalize it away. God is ordering your attention because distraction is the enemy's final attempt. And here is the deeper truth: a huge, surprising news is not random blessing. It is strategic alignment. Something that was out of order is being corrected. Someone who was hiding something will not be able to continue. An atmosphere that felt heavy will suddenly feel lighter. But you must be spiritually alert. This is why this message found you now. Archangel Michael does not announce chaos. He announces victory before it manifests. And heaven is saying, prepare. Prepare your heart. Prepare your reaction. Prepare your faith. Because when the news comes, you must respond with confidence, not fear. The house you are living in is not forgotten. The prayers spoken within those walls have been recorded. And tonight, something begins to surface. Do not skip this. Do not treat this like ordinary content. This is a divine appointment. God says again, clearly and firmly, I order you to listen to this right now. Because by tonight, 11:57 p.m., you will understand why this moment mattered. And what you are about to hear next will explain everything. Chosen one, what is unfolding in your life right now is not ordinary timing. It is divine acceleration. You felt something shift the moment you heard those words. That was not emotion. That was confirmation. Because when God says, I order you to listen to this right now, it means heaven is overriding delay. You keep asking, what is this huge, surprising news? But the real question is, are you spiritually positioned to receive it? The reason this is connected to your last act is simple. Heaven responds to completion. Your last prayer was different. It was not desperate. It was surrendered. And surrender is a language that moves angels. Archangel Michael has been assigned to enforce what was authorized in that moment. When you surrendered, you unknowingly signed a spiritual decree. And now enforcement is taking place around your house. Have you noticed the tension rising recently? Small misunderstandings. Strange silence. Unexpected reactions from someone close to you. This is not random behavior. When exposure approaches, pressure builds. God is preparing to reveal something that has been operating quietly in your environment. Not to harm you, but to free you. There is information circling around you right now. Conversations you are unaware of. Decisions being made that will soon intersect with your life. And what makes this shocking is that it connects directly to what you prayed about last. You thought God did not hear that specific request. You thought it was too small, too personal, or too complicated. But heaven recorded it. Archangel Michael does not stand guard unless something valuable is at stake. And what is at stake is your peace, your household, and your next season. Tonight before 11:57 p.m. is not a threat. It is a window, a spiritual window. There are moments in life where revelation must meet readiness. If you are distracted, doubtful, or emotionally unstable, you could misinterpret what is about to happen. That is why God commanded your attention now. The news coming will surprise you because it will expose both truth and intention. Someone's real motives are about to surface. A hidden detail about your living situation, your financial stability, or someone under your roof will become clear. But here is the deeper layer. This exposure is not to destroy your foundation. It is to strengthen it. God says, I will not allow deception to sit in your house any longer. And when heaven makes that declaration, enforcement follows. You may feel nervous reading this. That is natural. But remember, Archangel Michael is not a messenger of fear. He is a defender of destiny. When he stands near your dwelling, it means protection is already in motion. There is something you sensed but ignored. A red flag, a quiet intuition, a strange energy. That was discernment. And what you are about to witness will confirm that you were not imagining it. This is why you were told not to skip. Because if you treat this lightly, you may brush off the very sign God sends tonight. It could come through a message. It could come through someone's confession. It could come through a sudden realization that changes how you see everything. But when it happens, do not panic. Pause. Breathe. Observe. Because this is the moment heaven has been arranging since your last act of obedience. And understand something powerful. The enemy tried to make you regret that last act. Tried to make you feel foolish. Tried to convince you that nothing changed. But something shifted immediately in the spiritual realm. And now the physical realm is catching up. The reason this message feels intense is because timing is critical. There are moments that define seasons. This is one of them. If this is speaking directly to your spirit, if you can feel that this message is not random but personal, then I want you to engage with it. Like this video so it reaches the exact person who also needs this warning. Share it with someone whose household has felt spiritually heavy lately. Comment below what time you are watching this from, because there is power in agreement. And if you have not subscribed yet, do it now and become part of this protected community. When you subscribe, you are aligning yourself with consistent spiritual covering and revelation. Something about tonight carries weight. You will sense it in the atmosphere of your home. A shift, a pause, a realization. And when it happens, you will remember these words. Hold on, because what is about to unfold next will make the urgency completely clear. Beloved soul, the reason your spirit feels alert right now is because revelation is closer than you think. What God is about to uncover is not random information. It is strategic truth. And truth, when released at the right time, becomes freedom. You have been living in a space where something felt slightly off. Not dramatic, not obvious, just subtle. A tone in someone's voice. A pattern that did not make sense. A delay that felt intentional. You tried to ignore it because you wanted peace. You told yourself you were overthinking. But your discernment was not wrong. God says, the last thing you did unlocked my response. That act of obedience, whether it was forgiving someone silently, choosing not to argue, giving when you had little, or praying when you felt empty, became a spiritual signal. And when that signal reached heaven, Archangel Michael was assigned to your territory. You must understand what that means. When Michael is positioned near a household, it signals two things: protection and exposure. Protection over the innocent. Exposure over the hidden. There has been something concealed in your environment. Not necessarily evil, but concealed. Information not shared. Intentions not revealed. Plans not fully transparent. And God, in His mercy, decided that you will not walk blindly into your next season. The surprising news coming is connected to alignment. Something that was misaligned is being corrected. And correction often feels uncomfortable before it feels liberating. The night before 11:57 p.m., there will be a moment of clarity. It may not be dramatic. It may not come with noise. What you will know. It could be a conversation that shifts your understanding. It could be someone admitting something small that reveals something bigger. It could be a sudden awareness that changes how you see your living situation. Do not react emotionally when it happens. Observe carefully. Because what is being exposed is not meant to shake you. It is meant to secure you. God says, I am cleaning what you cannot see, and that cleaning sometimes requires light. The house you are living in carries spiritual memory. Words spoken in anger linger. Outspoken in secret create atmosphere. But so do prayers. So does worship. So does faith whispered at midnight when no one else heard you. Your last prayer echoed through those walls, and heaven answered. Archangel Michael stands as enforcer of that answer. Not violently, not grammatically, but firmly. If someone hath been withholding truth, it will slip. If there has been confusion, it will untangle. If there hath been spiritual heaviness, it will lift. This is why you were commanded to listen. Because the enemy wanted you distracted when the sign comes. He wanted you busy, scrolling, doubting, or emotionally overwhelmed so that you would dismiss the confirmation. But you are not missing this. You were chosen to hear this before it unfolds so that when it happens, you remain steady. God says, do not fear exposure. Exposure is my mercy. Sometimes we pray for blessing, but blessing requires clarity, and clarity requires truth. The huge, surprising news is not just about what will be revealed. It is about what will be restored after the revelation. Peace will return to your household. Tension will break. Misunderstanding will dissolve. And if someone's true intentions were not aligned with your destiny, they will no longer be able to hide behind half-truths. This is divine order being reestablished. And here is what makes this sacred. It is happening because you chose obedience last. Your obedience invited protection. Your surrender invited intervention. Your faith invited movement. Before this day ends, something subtle but undeniable will shift. And when it does, thank God immediately. Do not complain about how it came. Do not question the timing. Just acknowledge that heaven stepped in. If this message is confirming what you have been sensing deep inside, then respond in faith. Type I receive divine clarity in the comments if this is speaking to your spirit. Blessing code 3399 has just been activated over your household. And as this revelation unfolds, understand something deeper. When God orders you to listen, it is because He is positioning you not only to receive, but to help others receive. Right now, there are people living under silent spiritual pressure in their homes. They are praying for the same exposure, the same protection, the same peace. When you sow into this mission, through super thanks, through membership, or even through the PayPal link placed in the description, you are not funding a channel. You are lighting a lamp in someone else's dark hallway. God says, as you give, I will cause light to return to your dwelling. This is your moment of alignment. When you feel that stirring in your heart that says, I want to help this word reach more homes, that is not emotion, that is invitation. Act on it. Release your seed like oil poured on holy ground. And as you do, may protection increase around your house, may provision flow toward you, and may the same clarity being released to you multiply in your life. Step into obedience and give as the Spirit leads you, because this is not a donation. This is a declaration. The atmosphere has already begun to change. Faithful one, now that clarity has been released into your atmosphere, the next phase is positioning. Revelation without preparation can feel overwhelming, but God never reveals without also strengthening the one who receives it. What is unfolding around you is not chaos. It is divine rearrangement. Since hearing this message, something inside you have been more alert. You may have replayed recent conversations in your mind. You may have sensed that certain behaviors now make more sense. This is not anxiety. This is discernment sharpening. God says, I am aligning what belongs and removing what does not. The surprising news you are about to encounter is layered. On the surface it may look like simple information, but beneath it is a deeper confirmation that heaven has been working quietly in your favor. What felt delayed was actually being timed perfectly. Archangel Michael's presence around your household signals that spiritual resistance has already been confronted. There was interference attempting to distort communication, create misunderstanding, and subtly divide trust. But protection stepped in before damage could root itself deeply. You may begin noticing subtle shifts even before tonight fully unfolds. The atmosphere may feel lighter. Someone who was distant may suddenly become transparent. A topic that was avoided may unexpectedly surface. Do not force anything. Let it come naturally. God says, I am bringing truth to the table. There is power in timing. If this revelation had come earlier, you might have reacted emotionally. If it came later, it might have caused deeper confusion. But now you are prepared. Your spirit is steadier than it was weeks ago. Your heart is less reactive and more observant. This is growth. And growth is what qualified you for this moment. You keep wondering what exactly will happen before 11:57 p.m. Understand this. The deadline is not about fear. It is about awareness. There are divine windows when perception becomes clear. Tonight is one of them. Something will click. It may not even require words. It could be a realization so strong that it feels like a veil lifting from your eyes. Suddenly you will see a pattern clearly. Suddenly you will understand someone's motive. Suddenly you will recognize why certain events unfolded the way they did. And instead of anger, you will feel calm. That calm will be your confirmation. Because when truth comes from God, it brings peace even if it exposes discomfort. Archangel Michael's role is not only to defend, but to establish order. Disorder cannot remain where divine authority has been assigned. If there has been imbalance in your living situation, balance is being restored. If someone has been operating in half-truth, full truth will surface. Do not confront prematurely. Let the revelation mature. God says, I will reveal and I will handle. Your responsibility is steadiness. You may feel tempted to test someone, to question directly, or to seek immediate answers. Resist that urge. What is meant to be uncovered will reveal itself without force. There is also good news embedded in this exposure. Not everything hidden is negative. Some of what is coming to light is actually favor that was quietly forming. An opportunity. A decision made in your favor. A conversation that positioned you positively behind closed doors. The surprise works both ways. This is why heaven ordered your attention now, so that you would not interpret the unfolding events through fear. Instead, you will interpret them through faith. The enemy hoped you would misread the signs and create unnecessary conflict. But clarity prevents confusion. Pay attention to don't shifts. Pay attention to unexpected honesty. Pay attention to sudden peace in rooms that previously felt heavy. These are signals. God says, you asked me for truth. I am answering. And truth is a gift. Tonight, when that moment arrives, whether through a message, a conversation, or an internal realization, pause and acknowledge the protection that surrounded you long before you understood what was happening. Archangel Michael was positioned before you sensed danger. Protection was assigned before exposure began. This is divine covering. The house you are living in is transitioning spiritually. What felt stagnant will begin to move. What felt tense will soften. What felt uncertain will stabilize. You are not losing control. You are witnessing divine control. Remain grounded. Remain calm. Remain prayerful. Because what unfolds next will not only confirm this message, it will elevate your understanding of how closely heaven watches over your life. And as the hours move forward, you will begin to see why this interruption was necessary. Warrior of faith, which you are stepping into now is the moment where understanding deepens. The surface layer of revelation is only the beginning. There is a deeper current moving beneath your circumstances, and God is allowing you to sense it before it fully manifests. Since this word reached you, there has been a subtle awareness growing inside. You are observing more, listening more carefully, not reacting as quickly. That shift is not accidental. It is preparation. God says, I am teaching you to see beyond what is shown. The huge, surprising news that is forming around your life carries two dimensions: exposure and elevation. Exposure removes what does not belong. Elevation introduces what does. Sometimes we focus so much on what might be revealed that we forget something greater is being positioned to replace it. If something unstable leaves your environment, stability will enter. If confusion is removed, clarity will settle like peace after a storm. Archangel Michael's assignment around your household is still active. When spiritual authority stands guard, it does not retreat halfway. It remains until order is restored. There were conversations that could have gone differently. There were misunderstandings that could have escalated. But intervention prevented escalation. You may soon realize that something you feared would explode has instead softened. Something you thought would become conflict will turn into calm dialogue. That is protection in action. God says, I have restrained what you could not see. This is why you must not allow imagination to run ahead of revelation. What is coming tonight is not disaster. It is clarity. And clarity does not destroy the faithful. It directs them. The house you are living in hath been spiritually contested. Not in a dramatic sense, but subtly. Small seeds of doubt, tiny fractures in communication, slight emotional distance. These things accumulate quietly, but heaven does not ignore accumulation. Your last prayer disrupted that accumulation. You did not shout it. You did not announce it. You simply surrendered, and surrender opened the door for divine inspection. Inspection always precedes correction. Correction always precedes peace. There is someone connected to your environment who is being internally confronted. You may not see it on their face yet, but conviction has already begun working on them. Your tone may soften. Your resistance may decrease. Your honesty may increase. Do not push. Let the process unfold. God says, I am working on hearts. And when hearts shift, circumstances follow. You may also experience an internal shift tonight. The realization about your own boundaries. A new understanding of what you will and will not tolerate. A sudden strength that surprises you. That is elevation. The surprising news is not only about others. It is about you recognizing your own growth. You are not the same person you were months ago. You would have reacted differently before. You would have felt threatened. Now you feel steady. That steadiness is evidence of divine preparation. Archangel Michael does not guard weakness. He guards destiny. And your destiny requires stability in your dwelling place. Emotional stability. Spiritual stability. Relational stability. If something has been draining you quietly, it will lose its grip. If someone has been withholding clarity, it will surface. If there hath been a misunderstanding clouding peace, it will dissolve. God says, I am restoring atmosphere. Atmosphere matters. A peaceful home strengthens vision. A stable environment sharpens focus. When your dwelling is in order, your calling expands. This is bigger than one conversation or one piece of news. It is about your next season. The enemy attempted to delay this alignment by introducing subtle distractions. Extra stress, random irritations, small conflicts meant to exhaust you. But you endured. And endurance invited reinforcement. Tonight, when the clock moves closer to that marked hour, you may feel a sense of anticipation. Do not interpret it as anxiety. It is expectation. Something will become clear. It may be through direct communication. It may be through observation. It may be through a deep internal knowing that suddenly feels undeniable. And when it happens, you will not feel shaken. You will feel confirmed. God says, I am not exposing to embarrass. I am exposing to secure. Security is being established in your life. Emotional security. Spiritual security. Even financial or relational security, depending on what this revelation touches. Trust the process. Do not jump ahead. Let heaven complete what it has started. Because what unfolds next will reveal how intentional this entire sequence has been, and why you were commanded to pay attention before it happened. Steadfast heart, you are now standing at the edge of manifestation. Everything that has been building quietly is about to cross from spiritual movement into visible reality. The tension you have felt was never meant to break you. It was meant to prepare you for the shift. God says, what I whispered in the unseen, I am now revealing in the seen. There is a sacred rhythm to how heaven moves. First comes the stirring. Then comes the warning. Then comes the alignment. And finally, the unveiling. You are entering that final stage. Since this message began unfolding in your life, something has already changed within you. You are less reactive, more observant. Your spirit feels alert but not afraid. That is growth under pressure. That is maturity shaped by faith. Archangel Michael remains a sign because enforcement is still active. When divine authority stands in a place, hidden agendas cannot thrive comfortably. If someone have been carrying something unspoken, it is becoming heavy on them. If there has been an imbalance in honesty, it is pressing toward correction. You may sense that someone around you is quieter than usual, or unusually attentive, or slightly uneasy. Do not assume the worst. Simply watch. God says truth carries weight. It cannot be hidden forever. The surprising news forming around your life will not erupt in chaos. It will surface in clarity, and clarity has a calm strength to it. When the moment arrives, you will not need to force a reaction. The truth will speak for itself. Remember this, exposure is not your responsibility. Response is. If you respond with peace, peace will multiply. If you respond with wisdom, stability will increase. But if you allow emotion to lead, confusion could attempt to re-enter. Heaven has not brought you this far to let you stumble at the doorway of breakthrough. There is also another layer to this unfolding. Something positive has been quietly positioned in your favor. A decision, a plan, an opportunity that was not visible yet. The exposure clears space for that blessing to land. God says, I remove what blocks before I release what blesses. You may look back in a few days and realize that what felt tense was actually protection. What felt delayed was actually divine timing. And what felt uncertain was simply preparation for clarity. Your house is shifting spiritually. Rooms that once felt heavy will feel lighter. Conversations that felt forced will feel natural. Even your sleep may become more peaceful. These are signs of restored atmosphere. Archangel Michael's presence signifies that boundaries are being reestablished. Spiritual boundaries, emotional boundaries, even relational boundaries. Anything that was overstepping its place is being corrected. Do not interfere with the process. Let God complete what He initiated. There may be a moment tonight when everything becomes unmistakably clear. It may not be dramatic. It may not be loud, but it will be undeniable. When it happens, pause and thank God immediately. Do not rush to explain it to others. Let the understanding settle within you first. Wisdom often grows in silence before it is spoken aloud. And as you continue walking through this unfolding, I want to speak directly to you. If this message has been confirming what your spirit already sensed, then engage with it actively. Like this video so it reaches someone whose household is under silent pressure right now. Share it with a friend who has been praying for clarity. Comment below what you are believing God to reveal in your own home. And if you have not yet subscribed, join this channel now and become part of this growing circle of spiritual awareness and protection. There is power in agreement. There is strength in community. And there is momentum when faith is shared. Something significant is about to settle into place. Hold your peace. Guard your reactions. Stay observant. Because what unfolds next will not only confirm that God ordered your attention, it will show you how carefully heaven has been orchestrating every detail around your life. And when you see it fully, you will understand why this timing could not have been delayed even one more day. Anchored soul, the unfolding you have been sensing is now moving from quiet preparation into undeniable confirmation. You may not see fireworks. You may not hear dramatic announcements. But what is taking place carries eternal precision. God says, I do not rush revelation, and I do not delay justice. What has been building around your household is not accidental tension. It is divine exposure working gently but firmly. And the reason it has not erupted chaotically is because protection hath been guarding the process. Archangel Michael does not only stand in moments of visible battle, he stands in moments of strategic transition. When something hidden is about to surface, heaven secures the perimeter first. That is why you have felt covered even while sensing something shifting. You may now begin to connect the dots. Certain past conversations may suddenly make sense. Certain reactions from someone near you may now appear clear. What once confused you may now seem obvious. This is not hindsight. This is illumination. God says, I am removing the veil. There is a difference between suspicion and discernment. Suspicion creates fear. Discernment creates peace. What you are experiencing is discernment. Even if what is revealed surprises you, it will not destabilize you. That is the sign that it is from God. The huge, surprising news attached to your last act of obedience is no longer forming. It is landing. Whether through a direct statement, an unexpected confession, or a personal realization that shifts your entire perspective, something will click into place. And when it does, you will feel steady. You may even feel relief. Because sometimes the most exhausting thing is not conflict. It is uncertainty. And uncertainty is being removed from your life. The house you are living in is entering a new atmosphere. One where hidden tensions cannot remain hidden. One where truth circulates more freely. One where your spiritual authority increases. Yes, your authority. God says, I am strengthening your position. There was a season when you doubted your perception. You questioned whether you were overthinking. You minimized your intuition. But heaven has been validating you quietly. Archangel Michael's assignment around your dwelling is proof that your sensitivity was not weakness. It was awareness. Something or someone underestimated your spiritual alignment. They assumed you would overlook what was subtle. They assumed you would accept half-clarity. But your last prayer changed that. Your surrender authorized divine intervention. Now intervention has matured into exposure. Be careful not to let pride enter your heart when the truth surfaces. This is not about being right. It is about being free. Respond with grace. Even if someone admits something that disappoints you, listen calmly. Even if a realization shifts how you view a situation, process it slowly. You are not called to explode. You are called to elevate. God says, handle revelation with wisdom. There is also good news intertwined in this moment. Something positive that has been forming quietly will now have space to breathe. An opportunity may present itself more clearly. A decision may finally lean in your favor. A conversation may open doors that felt closed. Exposure clears ground for growth. The enemy's plan was to keep everything blurred so that you would remain uncertain. But uncertainty cannot survive under divine light. You may even feel lighter physically. A sense of release in your chest. A clarity in your thoughts. That is the atmosphere adjusting. Archangel Michael's presence signals that order has been restored where disorder attempted to linger. Do not rush to announce what you discover. Let it settle. Let it teach you. Let it strengthen you. Because this is not just about tonight. It is about the season ahead. Your next season requires sharper discernment, stronger boundaries, and deeper peace. What is being revealed now is preparing you for that level. God says, I trust you with truth, and that trust is sacred. As the hours continue to move, you will see more clearly why you were commanded to listen without delay. If you had ignored this message, you might have misinterpreted what unfolded. You might have reacted impulsively. You might have created unnecessary tension. But now you are steady, and steadiness changes outcomes. The next development in this unfolding will not only confirm what has been exposed, it will show you how heaven uses even hidden tension to build visible strength in you. Protected one, what you are experiencing now is the settling after exposure. The moment when truth has surfaced, and the atmosphere begins to adjust around it. This stage is delicate, but it is powerful. Because once truth is revealed, nothing can return to the way it was before. God says, now that you see clearly, walk wisely. There is a calm that follows divine revelation. Not because everything is perfect, but because confusion has been removed. You may have noticed that the tension you once felt has either dissolved or transformed. Conversations may feel more honest. Silence may feel less heavy. Even your own thoughts may feel more organized. This is restoration beginning. Archangel Michael's assignment was never about creating chaos in your house. It was about securing it. And now that exposure has done its work, protection remains as reinforcement. You may still be processing what was uncovered. Perhaps someone admitted something you suspected. Perhaps you realized a pattern that had been quietly draining you. Or perhaps the surprising news came in a positive form. An opportunity, a confirmation, a decision made in your favor. Whatever form it took, it was not random. God says, I revealed it because you were ready. Readiness is the key. Months ago, you might have reacted emotionally. You might have confronted harshly. You might have internalized everything and blamed yourself. But now you are steadier. This steadiness is evidence of growth, and growth is what qualifies you for the next level. There is something important to understand in this moment. Exposure is not the final step. Establishment is. Now that truth has surfaced, new boundaries must be set. Not aggressively, not grammatically, but clearly. If someone's honesty has increased, acknowledge it with grace. If someone's motives were corrected, allow space for rebuilding trust. But if something unhealthy was revealed, do not minimize it. Peace does not require pretending nothing happened. God says, guard what I have restored. The house you are living in carries spiritual influence. What is spoken inside those walls matters. What is tolerated inside those rooms matters. And now that clarity has entered, your authority inside that space increases. Archangel Michael does not withdraw the moment exposure happens. He stands as reinforcement while new order stabilizes. You may begin noticing new patterns forming. Healthier conversations, clearer decisions, more mutual respect. These are signs that restoration is taking root. But there is also a larger purpose behind this entire sequence. What happened in your household is training you for leadership in your next season. Discernment sharpened. Action matured. Boundaries clarified. God says, I'm preparing you for influence. Influence requires stability. And stability begins at home. If you feel gratitude rising in you right now, express it. Thank God for not allowing you to remain in uncertainty. Thank Him for protecting your peace even before you understood what was happening. And if this message has been walking step by step with your real experience, if it feels like heaven has been narrating your situation with precision, then respond in faith. Type "My house is covered" in the comments if you receive this confirmation. Lesson code 8844 is now activated over your dwelling. As this atmosphere of restoration settles, I must speak clearly to you. When you sow into a word that protected your house, you extend that protection to someone else's. There are families listening who are silently carrying tension, confusion, and unanswered prayers. When you release a super thanks, join membership, or use the PayPal link in the description, you are not giving to a platform. You are sending light into another household. God says, as you pour oil into my work, I will cause oil to flow in your own home. This is not about obligation. This is about alignment. When you feel that inner nudge saying, I want others to receive what I just received, that is a holy invitation. Act on it. Release your seed as a declaration that your house stands under divine order. And as you give, may peace multiply, may provision expand, and may protection remain over every room you dwell in. Move in obedience now. The restoration has begun, but there is still one more layer of understanding that will complete this revelation. And what comes next will show you why this entire sequence was timed so precisely for this very season of your life. Faithful guardian of your home, now that restoration has begun, the deeper meaning behind everything that happened is starting to unfold. What you experienced was not just about one revelation or one moment of exposure. It was about repositioning your authority. God says, I did not interrupt your life to alarm you. I interrupted it to elevate you. Look closely at how this all unfolded. First, there was a warning. Then there was a stirring in your spirit. Then clarity came. Then peace followed. This pattern is not accidental. It is the blueprint of divine correction. The house you are living in has shifted spiritually. You may not see it physically, but you can feel it. The air feels different. Your thoughts feel clearer. Even your reactions feel more measured. That is because confusion no longer has permission to circulate freely in your environment. Archangel Michael's presence was not only about guarding you from hidden motives. It was about teaching you how to stand in spiritual awareness without fear. Protection surrounded you, but maturity was built within you. You now understand something you did not fully grasp before. Peace is not the absence of truth. Peace is the presence of order. When truth entered your situation, it did not destroy your stability. It strengthened it. That is how you know this was orchestrated by God. There may still be minor adjustments happening around you. Conversations that feel slightly different. Dynamics that are recalibrating. That is normal. When truth enters a space, it rearranges patterns. God says, let the rearranging happen. Do not rush to return to old comfort zones. Do not pretend nothing changed just to avoid discomfort. Growth sometimes feels unfamiliar at first, but unfamiliar does not mean unsafe. You were commanded to listen because timing was critical. If you had encountered the revelation without spiritual preparation, you might have reacted emotionally. You might have doubted yourself again. You might have allowed confusion to re-enter. But now you are grounded. The surprising news you heard or realized was not random information. It was a key that unlocked understanding, a key that opened your eyes to dynamics you needed to see before stepping into your next season. And that next season is closer than you think. God says, I am expanding your influence, but I must secure your foundation first. Foundation begins at home. If your dwelling carries tension, your calling feels heavy. If your atmosphere carries confusion, your decisions feel clouded. But now that clarity has entered, your focus sharpens. You may notice increased confidence in your voice, stronger boundaries in your communication, less tolerance for subtle disrespect. That is not pride. That is alignment. Archangel Michael's assignment ensured that what was unstable could not sabotage what is coming. There is something ahead of you that requires clear vision, a decision, an opportunity, a transition. And if the confusion in your house had remained unresolved, it could have affected your judgment. But God intervened early. At His mercy, you might even look back and realize that what felt like tension was actually divine timing pressing forward. What felt uncomfortable was simply preparation accelerating. God says, I moved when I did because delay was no longer allowed. You are stepping into a phase where discernment must become consistent, not occasional. This experience trained you to trust your inner awareness. It trained you to pause before reacting. It trained you to observe before concluding. These lessons are seeds, and seeds grow. As restoration stabilizes fully, you will sense an unusual calm settling over your household. Not forced calm, not artificial harmony, genuine steadiness. When that steadiness becomes consistent, you will know the transition is complete. Do not underestimate what just happened in your life. What seemed like a simple exposure was actually a spiritual upgrade. You now see more clearly. You now respond more wisely. You now stand more firmly. And because of that, what unfolds next in your life will not catch you unprepared. God says, you are ready for the next instruction. The interruption that began this sequence was necessary. The urgency was intentional. The timing was precise. And what is about to unfold next will reveal why securing your household was only the beginning of a much larger divine movement in your life. Chosen vessel, now that your foundation hath been secured, heaven is shifting your focus from protection to expansion. What began as a warning is transforming into a commissioning. God did not order you to listen just to correct your environment. He ordered you to listen because your next level requires sharper awareness and stronger authority. God says, now that your house is aligned, I am aligning your future. There is a reason the urgency carried a specific time marker. It was not simply about one evening. It was about closing an old cycle and opening a new one. when that hour passed and clarity had already entered your space, a spiritual chapter quietly ended. You may not have seen fireworks. You may not have felt dramatic emotion. But something concluded. And when something concludes under divine timing, something greater begins. Archangel Michael's presence around your dwelling was about enforcement. Now that order has been restored, that enforcement becomes empowerment. You are not just protected. You are positioned. Positioned for what? For responsibility. For influence. For a decision that requires maturity. There is an opportunity approaching you that will test your discernment. Not in a negative way, but in a confirming way. It may involve a commitment, a collaboration, or a shift in direction. Because your household atmosphere has been cleared, you will be able to evaluate this opportunity without confusion clouding your judgment. God says, I removed distraction so you could see direction. This next step in your life will not feel forced. It will feel clear. You will sense alignment instead of pressure. That is how you will know it is from God. The enemy attempted to entangle your focus in small tension so that you would hesitate when the larger door opens. But that strategy failed. Clarity arrived in time. And now you must guard what has been restored. Do not slip back into overthinking. Do not reopen doors that truth already closed. Do not entertain dynamics that God already corrected. You have moved forward. Walk like it. There may also be a conversation soon that reveals how much you have grown. Someone may approach you differently. Someone may respect your boundaries more clearly. Or someone may even acknowledge a change in you. Receive it calmly. Growth does not need applause to be real. God says, I have matured your spirit quietly. This maturity is what qualifies you for what is next. Influence requires stability. Leadership requires discernment. And discernment requires experience. What you just walked through was experience shaping wisdom. You were commanded to listen because you were being trained in real time. And now, as you step into this expanded phase, I want to speak directly to you. If this word has walked you step by step through a real shift in your life, engage with it intentionally. Like this video so others who are on the edge of their own breakthrough can receive it. Share it with someone whose home feels like it is in transition. Comment below what new door you believe God is opening for you. And if you have not yet subscribed, subscribe now and become part of this growing movement of clarity and spiritual authority. There is power in collective agreement. There is strength when voices unite around truth. And as you continue listening, lean in closely. Because what comes next is not just about your house or your immediate circle. It is about the broader assignment attached to your life. Trust me, this next layer will connect everything in a way you did not expect. God says, I did not just protect your dwelling. I prepared your destiny. Destiny cannot unfold in chaos. Destiny requires order. And order has now been established. The urgency that began this message was not fear-based. It was purpose-driven. Heaven was ensuring that you would not miss the moment of transition. Now that transition has occurred. Now alignment has settled. Now clarity has taken root. What unfolds next will show you why this entire sequence was necessary preparation for something far greater than a single revelation inside your home. Faithful listener, you are now standing in the afterglow of divine alignment. What began as an urgent command has unfolded into a season of clarity, stability, and preparation. But do not mistake this calm for completion. This is the platform. God says, I corrected your environment because I am about to enlarge your assignment. Everything that happened inside your household was training ground. The tangent sharpened your discernment. The exposure strengthened your composure. The restoration anchored your authority. Now those qualities must extend beyond your walls. You may begin sensing a new level of responsibility rising within you. A deeper awareness when you walk into rooms. An increased sensitivity to tone, atmosphere, and intention. That is not coincidence. That is expansion. Archangel Michael's earlier presence around your dwelling was about guarding territory. Now that territory includes influence. Influence over conversations. Influence over decisions. Influence over outcomes that affect more than just you. God says, I trust you with greater weight. Weight does not mean burden. It means significance. Your words will carry more impact in the coming days. Your silence will speak more loudly. Your choices will shape more than you realize. This is why your foundation had to be secured first. Imagine stepping into greater influence while confusion still lived in your home. Your discernment would have been divided. Your peace would have been unstable. Your reactions would have been inconsistent. But now you are steady. Steadiness attracts opportunity. There is something approaching that will require you to speak clearly and stand firmly. It may involve guiding someone else through confusion. It may involve making a decision others hesitate to make. It may even involve protecting someone who lacks the awareness you now carry. God says, what I did for you, you will help me do for others. That is the hidden layer of this entire sequence. The urgency was not just about saving you from misalignment. It was about equipping you to recognize misalignment wherever it appears. When you feel that familiar stirring again, that subtle alertness in your spirit, do not dismiss it. It is the same discernment that guided you through your own revelation. You have learned to pause before reacting. You have learned to observe before concluding. You have learned to trust clarity over emotion. These are leadership traits. And leadership does not always come with a title. Sometimes it comes with presence. You may notice people responding to you differently now, listening more closely, seeking your opinion, respecting your boundaries. That shift is evidence that your internal alignment has become visible externally. God says, authority flows from alignment. The surprising news that unfolded earlier was the catalyst. But the true outcome is transformation within you. Your house is peaceful not just because truth surfaced, but because you responded with maturity. That response sealed the breakthrough. Archangel Michael's assignment around your life now shifts from confrontation to confirmation. Confirmation that you are walking in divine timing. Confirmation that your obedience carries consequence. Confirmation that heaven intervenes when you surrender fully. There may be moments soon where you reflect on how intense that initial urgency felt. You may even smile, realizing how precisely timed it was. If you had delayed listening, you might have misread everything that followed. But you did not delay. You leaned in. And leaning in changed the outcome. God says, this is how I will guide you from now on, with precision. Do not ignore future promptings. When you feel directed to pay attention, pay attention. When you sense timing is critical, act swiftly. The same voice that ordered you to listen will continue to guide you. You are entering a season where hesitation decreases and clarity increases. And what comes next will not surprise you in a negative way. It will confirm that this entire process was divine preparation for elevation. The urgency is over. The foundation is secure. The authority is strengthened. Now the assignment expands. And the final layer of this revelation will seal everything you have just walked through, showing you why heaven could not afford for you to miss that original command. Beloved one, you have now reached the ceiling of this message. What began as a divine interruption has become a divine confirmation. God did not order you to listen to create fear. He ordered you to listen because destiny was at a turning point. Look at what has happened. Your house shifted. True service. Peace stabilized. Authority increased. And now you stand different than you did at the beginning. God says, "What I started in urgency, I finish in establishment." The deadline that felt intense was never about pressure. It was about precision. There are moments in life when heaven refuses delay. Moments when distraction cannot be allowed to steal alignment. It was one of those moments for you. If you had ignored the nudge, you might have reacted incorrectly to what unfolded. You might have doubted yourself again. You might have allowed confusion to regain ground. But because you listened, clarity led you instead of emotion. That is growth. Archangel Michael's assignment around your dwelling was not temporary panic. It was strategic protection. When protection surrounds you before exposure happens, it means you were valued enough to be warned in advance. You were not left blind. You were prepared. And preparation changed everything. Now your home carries a different atmosphere. Not because circumstances magically disappeared, but because truth removed distortion. Order replaced uncertainty. Stability replaced tension. God says, "I have established peace where there was pressure." But this is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of a higher level of discernment in your life. From now on, when you sense a stirring, you will recognize it faster. When you feel a divine interruption, you will not resist it. When urgency arises in your spirit, you will understand that heaven is protecting your future. You have been trained. The surprising news that unfolded was not just about exposure. It was about elevation. It proved that your obedience carries weight. It showed you that your prayers move heaven. It revealed that your surrender activates protection. Never again say your small acts of faith do not matter. They matter more than you realize. God says, because you responded quickly, I will accelerate what is next. There is acceleration coming. Not chaotic speed, but smooth advancement. Doors opening without strain. Decisions aligning without confusion. Relationships stabilizing without manipulation. Why? Because your foundation is clean. Your house is ordered. Your discernment is sharpened. Archangel Michael stands not in battle now, but in confirmation. Confirmation that what tried to linger in secrecy has lost its place. Confirmation that your environment is aligned with your destiny. Take a moment and reflect on how different you feel compared to when this began. The fear has left. The confusion has cleared. The tension has softened. That is what happens when you obey divine instruction. If this entire journey has resonated with your spirit, respond now in faith. Type "My house is established" in the comments if you receive this sealing. Lesson code 5511 is now released over your life and dwelling. And now hear this clearly as we close. When God ordered you to listen, He was not only protecting your house, He was inviting you into partnership. There are thousands who are still living in silent confusion, waiting for the same clarity you just received. When you release a super thanks, join as a member, or sow through the PayPal link in the description, you are not supporting a channel. You are sending light into someone else's midnight hour. The Lord says, as you sow into my word, I will cause your harvest to overtake you. This is your moment to act, not casually, but prophetically. When you feel that pull in your heart saying, I want this message to reach more homes, that is the Spirit inviting you to participate in expansion. Obey it. Release your seed as a declaration that your house stands under divine order. And as you give, May provision pursue you, may protection remain over your dwelling, and may every room in your life echo with peace. Step forward now and seal this word with action. The interruption has become establishment. A warning has become wisdom, and your obedience has become the doorway to what comes next.